It's time to look at common chords. Chords that are in common between two keys allows us to literally pivot between the keys, which is why in my day and in older books we call this a pivot chord, but in our book we call it a common chord. It's a chord that's in common between two keys. We're going to show you how to modulate. Now before I do that, let me give you a quick philosophical statement. We can look at music vertically as chords. And so far, that's what our book has mostly done. We look at chords. And when we look at chords, we start looking for pivot chords and common chords, and that's how we modulate. We can also look in terms of melody, horizontally, and how melodies overlap, bass lines and melodies. That's called counterpoint. And we're going to find ways to modulate using counterpoint and ways to modulate using chords and things that are hybrids between the two. But today, we're in the world of chords. And so we see here, those are the chords of a C major scale. We've seen that a million times. But if I wanted to have chords in G major, what I'd have to do is add an F sharp. The difference between C and G is one sharp, which is why they're closely related keys. So anything with an F in it can only exist in one key or the other. If it's got an F natural, it's in the key of C. If it's got an F sharp, it's in the key of G. But if it doesn't have an F, it could be in either key. So this chord here has no F. That could be in either key of C or G. This one could not be, because that F would be an F sharp in G, F natural in C. But this one could exist in two keys. The E minor chord could be a 3 chord in C or a 6 chord in G. They're the same notes. That has an F, can't be. This one can be. This one can be. That's got an F, it can't be. There are 4 chords that are in common between the key of C and the key of G. That's going to help us modulate. Imagine this. We're in C. Now when we're in a key, we write the key name and a colon. That tells us we're in C. And we've been going for a while, so there's been a 1 chord and some other stuff, and then a 5 and a 1. We sing in the key of C, and then we're trying to get to the key of G. So to do that, we write a G underneath it, also with a colon. And we know at some point we're going to end 5-1 in G, and then probably do some more 5-1s afterwards. We got to get to a 5-1. The 5 chord in the key of G is a D major chord. It only exists in the key of G. It's got an F sharp. The key of C doesn't have that, so we got to find a chord in common that will help us get there. If we do that, we have the smoothest modulation on earth. Well, let's take a look. What wants to go to a 5 chord? Well, a 2 chord in the key of G. Key of G. 2 chords in A. Is A a common chord? Yes, A minor. Ooh, look at that. 2 chord in the key of G is the exact same thing as in here, a 6 chord. So you have a progression. You have a 1 chord, you have to get to a 6 chord. You just go to it if you want. Or you throw a 3 chord in there. You do a 5 with 6 if you want, whatever it takes. But it gets you to a 6 chord. That 6 chord is also a 2. So you just go 2, 5, 1 in your new key, and then reinforce it with a 5-1, and you're in the key of G, smooth as glass, because you use this chord here as a common chord or a pivot between the two keys. Now the true definition, because lots of chords can be pivot chords. This 3 chord is in both keys. So why did we pick this one? Well, the rule is it's the last chord that the two keys have in common before it goes on to the new key. So the last chord, so we go like this, all these could be common chords, but this is the last possible one that can be a common chord. So that's the one we choose, and then we're now in the new key. Modulation. Simple. Isn't that fantastic? So we're in one key, we're now in the other key. The chord pivots for us. Smooth as glass, and you don't even feel it. You just are now in the new key, key of G. Great system. By the way, I have no idea what I was going to tell you. So now let's just do one more example of it. Let's pretend we're going to F instead. So it's the same problem. We still want to end up at a 5-1 there. We're still starting at a 1 here, but we have different chords in common. Now the difference between F and C is a B flat. So any chord with a B in it can't be there. So this is still a pivot chord. This is now a common chord here. But this one here has a B. It can't be. So we're going to say not to that one. Yes to this one. Ooh, there's a B in that one. Take it out. Nope. No B and a B. So again, there are 4 chords that could be pivot chords. And if we look in the key of G, there's our, key of F. The 1 chord can pivot. That's interesting. The 6 chord can pivot. And the 5 chord can pivot. Wow, that's interesting. So let's try it with, say, the 6 chord. So a 6 chord here, which will probably take me to the key of F, a 6 chord, which will probably then take me to a 2, to a 5, to a 1, right? How do I get to a 6? Well, that 6 chord in the key of F is a 2 chord here. So I might do the same thing, a 3 and a 6, maybe a 5 of 2, but I've got a chord here. It's a 2 chord in C, a 6 chord in F that are identical. They're common chords, and that's going to take me onto my progression here and finish off in the key of F. So common chords, it's the way to modulate finding a chord that's in common in 2 keys. Now lastly, let me just tell you one bit of words. A lot of theory is language. When you have no accidentals, we call it diatonic. Diatonic literally means in the key. In the key. So all of these chords are in the key of C, diatonic. Only 4 of these are diatonic in the key of F. So being diatonic in both keys allows us to pivot. So you notice that there are no accidentals here. Everything in the key of C is diatonic. Then it switches to a new key. Everything in the key of F is diatonic, but now we have B flat, so they're no longer diatonic in the key of C. That word diatonic, in the key, chromatic, out of the key. Important words to know. Practice this a little bit. See if you can make it, you can understand it. It's not hard in concept. Hopefully it's not hard in practice either. Let me know how it goes.